How come I'm not?
Well, I think we'll begin, and we'll hope for others to join us very soon. It's great to have you all with us this evening for our annual general meeting of the Victoria Multifaith Society. And we were talking about the beautiful sunshine today before we convened. Hope you had a chance to see the sun and get out in it. We've certainly having lots of different sorts of weather, and so being able to
20
just
people.
turn your face to the sun is a wonderful experience today. So our theme this evening is countering Islamophobia, and we're really grateful that you're able to join us for this. This is very much a part of our role as the Victoria Multifaith Society, which is to foster knowledge and goodwill and to build bridges of understanding among people. And we hope to do that through learning and sharing about the messages of the world's faiths through those who espouse those faiths. We're going to, in a second, start with a sacred opening, and it's going to be 4 passages, devotional readings drawn from the Quran, since this evening we're going to be talking about Islamophobia. And of course, you know that the Quran is the holy book of Islam. And we would invite you to mute your microphones as you listen, and invite you to meditate on these beautiful words as you hear them. The way that the meeting is going to proceed this evening is we'll have the first part devoted to our guest and these devotional readings. And then following that, we'll have our annual General Assembly, where we'll report on the work of the Multifaith Society and what we hope to do. So I'm going to share my screen now to bring up some of those quotes so that we can all enjoy these readings from the beginning. So here is the first quote, Henry.
We believe in God and what God has revealed to us and to Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, and their descendants, and what was revealed to Moses, Jesus, and the prophets from their Lord. We make no distinction among them, and to God we have submitted ourselves.
And David.
And among God's signs is the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the diversity of your languages and colors. Surely in these are signs for those who know.
By the sun and its radiance, and the moon as it follows it, and the day as it reveals it, and the night as it conceals it, and the sky and he who built it, and the earth and he who spread it, and the soul and he who proportioned it, and inspired it with its wickedness and its righteousness. Successful is he who purifies it, failing is he who corrupts it.
I shall not lose sight of the labor of any of you who labors in my way, be it man or woman. Each of you is equal to the other.
Beautiful readings. I hope you felt the spirit of those. We're really fortunate this evening, very happy and fortunate to have May Shihade with us. She's going to be our guest this evening. May is a master's student at Royal Roads University, working in intercultural and international communications. And she's a member of more than 10 organizations in Greater Victoria. She's a community advocate representing the Muslim community and a refugee expert, as well as a settlement worker. She's an interpreter, a researcher, and an entrepreneur. We are so fortunate to be able to have May speak with us this evening. And I'm going to invite now May to address us. And again, if I could invite you to mute yourself as we're listening to May. And you could also switch to speaker view as well for this presentation. And I'm going to stop sharing here until it's required again. So over to you, May.
Okay. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about countering Islamophobia. Today's presentation will be briefly describe Islamophobia to help everyone to rethink how the media and other sources sometimes can create an evil stereotype of Muslim people, but also my intention is maybe to help in opening the eye of other people who judge Muslims from the outside of, or from the cover of the outside of the cover of the book. In this presentation, I'm going to explain the meaning of Islam and talk about a peaceful, rich, complex religion, including what's behind of Islamophobia and the definition of Islamophobia. Our first slide, which is going to talk about what is the definition of Islam and what the core of the belief. The word of Islam means submission to the will of God. Followers of Islam are called Muslims. Muslims are monotheistic and worship one's all-known God, who is in Arabic is called Allah. Followers of Islam aim to live a life of a complete submission to Allah. They believe that nothing happened without Allah's permission. But humans have free will in terms of what they want to do. We have the choice to which way we want to go through. We're not occupied, we're not controlled, but it's based on our will of choosing the right path. Islam teaches that Allah's word was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad and through the angel Jibril beginning in the early 7th century, at the time when European civilization has fallen into the dark ages. Muslims believe several prophets were sent to teach Allah's law. They respect some of this, respect some of the same prophets as Jews and Christians, including Abraham. Somebody playing with the, sorry. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, okay. I lost my PowerPoint. So we were talking about including Abraham, Moses, and Noah, and Jesus. Muslim contend that Muhammad was the final prophets. Next. I want to talk briefly about the effect of Islamic scholars in today's civilization that are not well known, and who has who needs to be appreciated for and have the benefits of our technology and advantage of technology nowadays. I can bring you like words like algebra in mathematics and alchemy, artichoke, or apricots, all extended from the Arabic words which came to the West during the Age of Crusades. Adding to that, more fundamentals such as Indo-Arabic numerals from 0 to 9, which replace Roman numerals during the same period of transformation and reformation, our capacity to engage in science and trade. Thanks to the 9th century Persian scholar whose name is Al-Khwarizmi, who invented all of these, who has a part of inventing all of these mathematical perceptions. Even so, Western countries still struggle to acknowledge the contribution of Islam cultures to civilization. Arabic physicians and scholars also lead the basis of medical practice in Europe. Before Islam era, medical care was largely provided by priests in templates, and there is a word called sanatoriums, which is where during through my research I looked for this word and I searched for the definition for sanatoriums. I'm not sure if I even pronounce it right. It's the definition talks about the establishments that provides therapy combined with regime. And regime as a diet and exercise for a treatment or rehabilitation. These information are just even new to me, to know that Muslims scholars has a link to that, or the fundamental start for the medical care. I lost my, okay, again. Also the Muslim world was the center of philosophy and science and mathematics and other fields. Many Arabic ideas and concepts were spread across Europe, trade and where was I just lost this again. Many Arabic ideas were concepts trade across Europe, trade and travel through the region that made understanding Arabic essential for merchants and travelers alike. Next. What is Islamophobia? Islamophobia is an extreme fear towards Islam and Muslims, which leads to hate speech and hate crimes. Social and political discrimination can rationalize mass surveillance and disenfranchisement policies to influence domestic and foreign policy. Next. The question here I'm asking is Islamophobia, did it exist before September 11? I'm not sure if we are on the right slide. I'm done with Islam. Yeah, exactly this one. Thank you. The negative stereotypes about Muslims have been around since Crusades during the Middle Ages. Muslims were described as uncivilized and violent to help rational European invasions to take territories from the Muslims, particularly in the Holy Land over a period of roughly the last 200 years. American scholar Edward Said, through my research in 2003, used the term Orientalism to describe the pattern of negatively stereotyping Muslims and other colonized people. The term Islamophobia was popularized in the 1997, reported by Runnymede Trust, a British think tank dealing with racism and ethnic prejudice. The label of Islamophobia is similar to other labels indicate racism, like any other racist labels of anti-Semitism or anti-Black racism and homophobia. But Islamophobia also is a term used for advocacy against any violence of Muslims' rights. Also, Islamophobia does not include the rational criticism of Islam. However, it is Islamophobic for racism of Islam to be generated for the sole purpose of advocating social and political measures which discriminate against violence on the right of Muslims. Next. Yeah, you are on the right page. Islamophobia is not random. The one before, the slide before, please. Yep, it's this one. Thank you. Islamophobia is fabricated image and a conspiracy done by well-funded network of ideologies, media voices, and think tank, and social and political organizations. And I also attached a link if you need to go further for this information in depth. Next, please. The reason behind Islamophobia, according to Dr. Green during my research, I found Dr. Green has stated that the reason behind Islamophobia are imperialism, ignorance, and a lack of personal ties with Muslims are the three causes of Islamophobia. Imperialism is the cause of empires. Colonize link account for a great measure of Muslims' Western interaction. Under European powers, Muslims became colonial subjects, and these imperialistic ties were harmful. But on the other hand, the media consider a primarily source of ignorance, where we obtain our information from, and we appear to believe whatever we hear or see on TV or radio. When people hear of terrorist attack, that's an instance example carried by our Muslims, they most likely generalize the image of the entire Muslim community, which is incorrect. It is also wrong to listen to racist politician rail or TV channels or some rational media against the whole of Muslims population as a whole, because this is the only helps in dividing community further into groups and tear us apart as a society. Furthermore, as I previously indicated, that some people have ever met a Muslim or even dealt with, making prejudice against the whole Muslim community and generalize the single behavior or value of individual is totally inappropriate or improper. Next, please. Now, I am on who impacted by Islamophobia. Yeah, it could be this one. Yeah. Who is impacted from Islamophobia? The fear of Islam make people attack whoever wears the scarf on their head. So who is basically impacted by Islamophobia? Islamophobia impacted those who are visibly identify as a Muslim. For me personally, when I'm down the road, nobody can recognize me as a Muslim. But for the individuals who wears the scarves, or others, whoever wears a scarf or something, a head cover, especially women, who those are the ones that can be triggered down the street. In many cases, Sikh men sometimes who wears a turban on their heads mistakenly get targets, and people, because they don't have the knowledge behind what's Islam and what they look like, they just can go randomly. If they need to attack or harm, they can go randomly and attack anybody with something on their head or scarf or whatever covers the head. Statistics Canada reported the number of police reported hate crimes has increased from 1,167 to 2,073 cases. This number has increasingly grown to 60% between 2015 to 2017. And the issue here is the highest number of racist, highest hate crime recorded in Ontario, which is appeared strange to me because it's such a multicultural city, and it's a diverse province. To see that high number of racists, which is giving me a question mark. According to Ken Schwennick in 2017, he said that more than 50% of incidents happening daily on a daily basis remaining unreported with individuals, and that because of the victim can be experiencing fear, weakness, confusion, or feeling of isolation, or even lack of language that can be a high factor to prevent individuals from speaking up. And unfamiliar and others who's unfamiliar with with their rights as a Canadian citizen, because most of those are, or the majority of them, they are either newcomers or refugees or immigrants. Islamophobia is sometimes created or aggravated by well-funded groups and media voices to stir hatred. After 9/11, negative attitudes and hate crimes towards Muslims soared. Instead of growing down, it became systematic, increasing even more since 2010. Since then, there has been many attacks on students or worshippers in mosque. Thus, our life, even the last incident that happens in London, Ontario, for the family who were walking down the street, was purposely run over and killed in the past summer in 2021. Next. This is just an example of how people sees or manifest against Muslims. Islamophobia has a mass of diverse outcomes. There has been a long history of anti-Muslims hate crimes in Canada and around the world. Individuals of Muslims has been attacked. Mosque has been demolished and surrounded by weaponry that's across the world. Muslims harassed at airports or on the street or in schools, anywhere in the public places, and innocent individuals slaughtered for no reasons or appearance, just because. Making decisions based on incomplete knowledge creates vicious, racist loop that will not cease unless we take an action. Next. Now there's why should we care? I believe this is our final, why should we care? This is our final slide. According to Dr. Green, he asked Martin Millamore, kind of writer, generalist, why they didn't speak up. He's asking him. And the answer was, first, they came for the socialist and I didn't speak out because I was not a socialist of whom spoke. But then they came to the trade unionist, and I remained silent because I was not a member of a trade union. But then they came for Jews, and because I was not Jews, I didn't speak up. Then they came for me, and no one was left to speak up for me. If we continue to be passive and don't speak out to help others who are being unfairly discriminated against, there will only be more violent and unhealthy problem in the future, with Islamophobia, with as any kind of hate, and the entire population suffers. Quality of life is degraded for everyone, but especially innocent Muslims who are trying to lead good lives, trying to feel like they belong to their community, and trying to bring up their children to love their neighbors and live in peace. I believe now it's about John, the time for the movie show before I conclude my presentation. You go ahead.
On January 29th, 2017, Alexandre Bissonnette entered the Islamic Cultural Center in Quebec City while Muslims were gathered in prayer. He shot and killed 6 people and injured 19 others. At the time, the shooting was the most fatal act of political violence in Canada since 1989, and it was widely recognized across the country as a heinous act of Islamophobia. Islamophobia is defined as the unfounded fear and/or hatred of Islam or Muslims, leading to violence and systemic discrimination. But massacres in mosques are just the tip of the Islamophobia iceberg. After the shooting, negative attitudes and suspicion toward Muslims remained high. Anti-Muslim hate crimes actually shot up across Canada. The mosque was voted down in a town referendum in its bid to build a cemetery to bury their dead. All of this, and yet most Canadians still dismissed Islamophobia as a serious problem. Islamophobia also includes skewed media representation. The CBC spent only 5 minutes covering the mosque shooting the night it happened. And the day after, the Globe and Mail dedicated a mere side column on the front page. And generally, studies show that violence committed by Muslims is covered much more than violence against Muslims. This helps perpetuate state practices that both over-police Muslims and under-protect them. Less than a year after the mosque shooting, Public Safety Canada said that violent Islamist ideology is still the greatest threat to Canada, reinforcing perceptions of Muslims as terrorists. But far-right extremists and white supremacists are responsible for many times more acts of violence. And yet the label of terrorists is reserved almost exclusively for Muslims, not just in the media, but the legal system as well. While the Quebec mosque shooter wasn't even charged with terrorism, Muslims have been convicted of terrorism without actually injuring a single person. Incidents like the Quebec mosque shooting are enabled by a whole deeper iceberg of policies and practices. To really understand and address Islamophobia, we have to look beyond incidents of mass violence to what lies underneath the surface.
Yeah, I just wanna, why should we care? Yeah, that's my slide. This is my slide. No, there's a final one. Please, John, it's my conclusion. I'm not sure if I have it. Yeah, just leave it there, please. By watching this movie, what indication that would give you that in North America in particular, when somebody commit a crime, they call him by Muslim, like they label him with his religion as a Muslim, or Muslim did this, and then it's a terrorist act. But when the high number of white supremacists or others who commit a crime or an act of a crime, they call him as a mental health, or they relate it to something else. So would that give you the question mark why this is happening and why people pinpoint the crime when it's done by Muslims? In my conclusion here, we need people to rise up, to work for justice, and therefore I can see the end of the spectrum from the hate groups, and therefore there's also other groups working against it. For example, we have a network against Islamophobia, and we have a project of Jewish Voice for Peace also, and a different groups working for multiculturalism and multi-faith understanding. I also conclude that this is our obligation and role, not just as a Muslim, but as a human being, as educator, students, professors, citizens, or whoever you are. Be open-minded to educate yourself and to learn about Islam and to teach others about who have a phobia against Muslims and Islam. I hope that my presentation that helped every one of you just to have a brief information about Islamophobia and what's behind this Islamophobia. I wanted to thank every one of you who given me the opportunity to present the countering of Islamophobia and taken the time to listen to me tonight. Thank you, John, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you, May. That was a really strong and powerful presentation, and we hear your call for standing with you and standing with the Muslim community against this Islamophobia. And thank you for the context that was so clear as to what the problem is and some of the things that we need to do. I've really appreciated being able to associate with a number of colleagues at work and school. And I really appreciate the chance to stand together. That's what we're trying to do here with the Victoria Multifaith Society, and really, really strongly recommend what you said today for our action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So with that presentation in mind, we will review some of the things that we've been doing at the Victoria Multifaith Society as a part of our annual general meeting. And you'll see some of the actions that we're taking in relationship to Islamophobia, as well as other racism and anti-religious actions that we find across the world. So in this time that we have now at our annual general meeting, we want to give you a brief review of our year mostly, and introduce the board of the Victoria Multifaith Society. With the pandemic-related postponement of our 2020 AGM to February 2021, it's only been 9 months since we've had our last annual general meeting. But a lot has happened in this time, despite the pandemic. And so with this annual general meeting, we'll start with an approval of our agenda, which you can see in front of us here, reviewing of the year, introducing our members, plans for 2022, and any questions that you might have. If someone could move and second this, that would be appreciated, along with our minutes from the AGM from 2020.
John, I can do that if you wish. And the minutes were sent out to everyone over the last couple of days. So if you've had an opportunity to look at the minutes, you'll know what you're voting on. The minutes were of the meeting that was held in February, which was a postponement from our 2020 meeting, which was historically normally held in November or December. But because of COVID, we had to postpone it to February. So those minutes have been passed around, and you also see the agenda in front of you. Maybe with one motion, could we approve the agenda and the minutes of February 2021?
I second that.
And I guess people can vote by holding up their hands, maybe visually like this, or maybe put the little hand markers on if you wish to do that from the space that you're in. Looks good. Anybody opposed to agreeing to the agenda and approving the minutes of last year? I see people taking their hands down, so that's okay. So that looks to me that everybody is in favor of approving the agenda has been presented and the minutes of our last meeting.
Thank you. Wonderful. So to begin our review, Jagir will start us off with our World Interfaith Harmony event in February and give us a little bit of a context around this. So Jagir.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. We held our World Interfaith Harmony Week for 2021 on 4th February with a panel of 4 young Canadians speaking about race from the perspective of their lives and beliefs. The event was co-sponsored by the Juvic Multifaith Center and ICA's Community Partnership Network. We are very grateful to panelists Natalia Child, Sachi Ihara, Jara Chaudhary, and Talia Friedman, as well as our MC Stephen Bailey of ICA. They were and inspiration to all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Jagir. Sheila.
Right. The Interfaith Liaisons Network was very active this year. It's a project of VMS, open to members of congregations and spiritual groups to engage in interfaith dialogue and act as informal liaisons between the group and their communities. So there have been several meetings held in 2021, only one in person, but because of the pandemic, the rest were held online. They were advertised on Eventbrite and they were open to the general public. So they went to a wider audience than normal. And there was really good attendance, actually. So these included homelessness with Janine Theobald on January 18, economics with Badi Shams on the 8th of March. And in May, we had Kelvin Sandburn, speaking on the environment. And just recently, Indigenous Health with Karen Pruden Shirley on October 25th. There were actually 100 people who signed up with that, with 20 on a wait list. So it was well attended. And I'd really like to give special thanks to our speakers and also to Reverend Terry Woolgar, who's here today, and Beth Gibson, who's also here, Derek Hawksley, Reverend Bill Cantillon, who's also here, I think, and Rabbi Louis Sutker, who sent in his regrets. I'd like to thank all of them for their work with ILN. They've been terrific. And also would like to say that ILN is open to new members. So if you'd like more information, just send an email to BMS and we'd be happy to hear from you. And I think the next slide is David.
Yes, another project of VMS that we're proud to support is the Spiritually Speaking program from the Times Colonists. That features about 25 multi-faith writers, and they express a spiritual and values-based perspective on current issues and events. This column appears twice weekly online and in the print edition of the Saturday paper. It's moderated by Anna Bonus Park of the First Church of Christ Scientist, and she's recruited and encouraged every one of the writers. Anna writes, "Our articles appear when people search for subjects related to faith, spirituality, or religion on Google, Bing, and other search engines. The better visibility our blog has in search results, the more we garner attention and attract more readers, which means diverse voices are heard and read by an increasingly large group of people far outside the range of Victoria. Content that's widely read also supports the Times Colonist. It is very rare for a news outlet to carry a regular weekly faith column in its paper, and even rarer for them to carry it on their online platform as well. The Times Colonist remains committed to supporting our blog and continuing to publish these excellent articles in the print paper. And that brings us to the largest project we've undertaken this year, our anti-racism project.
It is really great because I'm sure the board, you have heard a bit about this history, but this history started 1 week before the pandemic, before everything shut down. It is when the first time ever I was in Vancouver at a conference, and I met with Alice Wong, who is from that organization called the CCRL, and she was one of the organizers of the event. Her organization was organizing the event, and they brought 4 of us as a panel, myself and the current Commissioner for Human Rights, and 2 other panelists. And her work and her organization just struck me as a very good partner for VMS, especially in what they were doing, how they were calling for, organization to work together around the spirituality and the religion. So it went from there, and then later on, when we find out about these grants that are being given by Vancouver Foundation and the government, it was very clear that when Alice approached us, it was easy to work with her. And the projects, because there is 2 running now, the 2 projects will focus on anti-racism. And at the first place, we fought to take the template that was used in the US and see how we can adapt it to our context in Canada and in BC especially. So those 2 projects, or if I just put them together, the anti-racism project, finally, Sheila is here and Sheila will add to what I'm saying. What happened is that we got to produce anti-racism training that right now is really in demand. I say it is in demand because even yesterday at a presentation, people were asking me about it. And I was going to liaise with Sheila to see how we're going to support that small organization. But in a nutshell, the product for VMS around anti-racism training, so far what I know in working in different settings, I can tell you, we have the best compendium because we touch almost every spiritual groups, and the product we have is flexible and adaptable. As you know, these days, anti-racism work and conversation is talking, usually it is generalized about the general public. But we know unless we address racism and racial and religious bigotry, we're not done with racism. And that's what VMS have been able to bring together into this curriculum that now we are offering to the community. And I want to really take my hat off for Sheila, for her leadership and her curriculum design skills, but most importantly, her coordination skills to bring this project to fruition. So Sheila, I pass it to you so that you can add more.
Thanks, Musa. You're too kind. But we're really happy with the project. We've had such good help, such good teams, and now it's really coming together, and the 8 workshops that have been produced are going to be rolled out next year. So that will be something to really look forward to. But thanks very much for reporting on it, Musa. That was great.
You're welcome. Welcome. And Sheila, one thing I want to add, though, and John, you might think about that. I think that these workshops and training should first be also delivered to the board, or I will say to this organization. And I really encourage the board to push for that, so that we can deliver some of this training to our members and especially the board. Because we can't go out and doing anti-racism work if we don't start with us. And as you know, Ganji just reminded us that, what did he say? Be the change you want to see in the world.
Thank you, Musa. That's a great point about being that change, and us as a board and as an organization doing this work. You know, as mentioned, this came to pass through this partnership of the Vancouver Foundation, the Province of British Columbia, and the Center for Civic Religious Literacy. And there was a year-long process with advisory groups here in Victoria, as well as throughout the province. So lots and lots of participation, putting this together with that partnership and those advisory groups. And as was mentioned, there's 8 workshops. There's workshops on Islamophobia, yes, anti-Semitism, anti-Asian racism, anti-Black racism, and anti-Indigenous racism. And there's also a facilitator's guide and glossary, and these materials, which are now being finalized, as Sheila said, will start to run in 2022. And what you've just heard Musa say is we should be a group that participates in these trainings as well, because it will be taken by people all over the province, but it's up to us as well to be able to also take advantage of that. So thank you, Musa, and thank you, Sheila, for your work on this project. And anyone who gets involved, we will talk about this at the board level as well, but we also encourage those at this meeting this evening to get involved as well. Thanks, Musa.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Sheila, and all of you.
Thank you. So before we introduce the VMS Board of Directors, we want to talk a little bit about our financials, as we often as we're required to do at this meeting. And I'll turn this time over to Janine.
Thank you, John, and just want to also take a moment to appreciate May. Thank you so much for your presentation and participating in our AGM. It was really thoughtful and impactful. And to everybody else for being in attendance, it's really lovely to see your faces here tonight. I'm sitting in today. I previously held the chair for the treasurers, and I am no longer in the chair, but unfortunately Ora Stefanik is unable to be here to provide the financial update today, so I'm happy to do that. So as you can see, our opening balance of July 1st, 2020, our fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th, was $3,129.22. You can see number of donations and memberships, as well as the grant that was just previously discussed for the anti-racism workshop development, bringing us in a total of $30,186.08. We've got to count those pennies. And then the disbursements are the various expenses over the course of the year, including the grant for the Civic Center for Civic and Religious Literacy. We're in partnership with to develop the workshops. So with a total disbursements of $19,450.39, with excess receipts over disbursements of $10,735.69, we had a closing balance at the end of our fiscal year of $13,864.91. And just in our history, 15-year history, VMS has always relied chiefly on in-kind donations for our venues, supplies, and refreshments for the many events that we've held in person over the many years we've been together. And of course, that changed this year somewhat with the anti-racism project funded by the aforementioned grant. So the $30,000 that you're seeing flowing through our account is being used to pay for expenses such as project facilitators, advisory groups, and the reviewers of the curriculum. And because the project is not yet finished, the funds haven't been completely dispersed, but will eventually see us returning to our closing balance from the top of the page here. So we do continue to depend on membership donations for all of our other expenses. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the VMS has recently decided to make memberships free with any donation, with a suggested donation of $25 for individuals. We'd like to keep membership reasonable and accessible to all people, especially students and other young people. So whether a donation is $5 or $100, or heck, even more than that, membership is included. And during this past year, we've also made it easy to make donations by e-transfer directly or on our website using the donate or join button on the navigation bar. Printable receipts are automatically given for every donation of $20 or more. And these donations provide membership for 1 year and provide for all VMS activities. So thank you in advance for your support and encouragement and participation in the many activities that we've been working through. Next slide, please. So more appreciation here and thank you. We are losing two wonderful board members, Parminder Virk and Sriganti, our Sikh and Hindu board members respectively. Both sat on the board since 2015, and their years of dedicated service have been enormously appreciated. The Multifaith devotional event held at the Hindu temple each year, of course, when in-person gatherings were possible, was organized by Sri and has been one of our most joyful and successful activities, with singing, chanting, music, and prayer from a wide range of traditions. And there is barely sitting room only. It's always a packed and well-enjoyed event. Pam is well known in Victoria for her support of multicultural and multi-faith activities and has great skill in feeding multitudes of people, both physically and spiritually. And although their board terms have expired, we hope that they both remain in close contact with VMS. So huge and sincere, heartfelt thank you to both of them. And I don't think they're going to get far there. we always stay engaged with them, and I'm delighted and honored to have had this opportunity to serve on the board. I've learned so much from both of them and feel my life's been enriched as a result of knowing them. So thank you for the opportunity to share. And I'll turn it back over to you, John.
Yes, thank you, Janine, and thank you, Pam and Shri, for your wonderful work on the board. We're so much better as a result of what you've done. And like Janine says, we hope that you don't go far and that you keep involved with us as we expect you will. I want to talk a little bit about our board now more in its current changes. You can see here the VMS bylaws were put in place in 2011, and they have a provision for a maximum term of 6 years on the board. Board members are asked to recommend members from their faith community, which leads to an interview process, and then a board decision, and then an affirmation following at the following annual general meeting, which is what we're at right now. So the 4 new board members that were appointed this year are as follows. We have David Batterham of the Baha'i Faith. He joined the board in June. David is originally from Australia and has lived in Victoria for the past 5 years. And he currently serves as the Baha'i spiritual care provider at the University of Victoria. David has a special interest in integrating the arts into our lives and being part of the process of revitalizing our communities through spiritual practice. And then Aura, who wasn't able to be with us this evening, she's joined the board in the Jewish seat this past March. Aura was born in Israel and immigrated to Canada in 1993, training as a teacher at the University of Western Ontario. She's been involved in community work around Ontario, Montreal, and in Nova Scotia, and she is very interested in intercultural understanding, diversity, and inclusion. And then Jagir, who you heard from earlier, rejoined our board in the Sikh seat. Jagir came to Victoria 27 years ago from India with a master's of sociology, and he worked for 25 years as a mental health worker, and he enjoys doing volunteer work and being involved in community building. And then we have Shrikant Shenwal is the most recent addition to the VMS board just this past month. Shrikant is a member of the Hindu community and serves on the board of Victoria Hindu Parishad and Cultural Center. He's born in India, and he moved to Victoria in 2012 after 15 years in Singapore, where he was responsible for starting and running a nonprofit wireless industry organization. So now we need to formally elect these members at this AGM to be voted on by all VMS members present. And those are those who are defined by those who have paid their annual dues. Could we get someone to move and second this affirmation of these people to the board?
John, I can move this motion. And the motion reads that Shrikant Shenwai, David Batterham, Aura Stefanek, and Yagir Verk be affirmed to fill the seats of their various faiths on the board of Victoria Multifaith Society. And I believe Sheila is going to second that.
Yeah, sorry, I'll second that.
So I guess we can see whether or not people affirm this. And all those in favor, please raise your hands, either visually or with a little hand marker. Thank you. It looks like everybody that I'm seeing has affirmed that with a hand. So that the motion passes.
Thank you, Henry. And I believe this next item is your slide as well.
So it gives me a pleasure to introduce Sheila Flood as the Executive Director for the Victoria Multifaith Society. Now, you may remember that David Batterham replaces Sheila Flood in the Baha'i seat. And so this past year, Sheila was named the board's first Executive Director after serving on the board at its inception in 2006, and again from 2015. Sheila has been part and parcel and almost the face of the Victoria Multifaith Society, and she's responsible for communication and coordination, as well as other tasks to keep VMS running smoothly and progressing in its capacity to serve the community. And so all of the people that are working, like including Sheila, and board members, all serve on a voluntary basis. And so I'd just like to affirm before everyone that Sheila has been named the Executive Director in a volunteer capacity. And our great heartfelt thanks to you, Sheila, for taking on these many, many responsibilities with such finesse and expertise and patience, because I know it requires quite a bit of patience to be guiding this diverse group into its various directions. And you do it with skill and with heartfulness and with great compassion. Thank you so much, Sheila, for taking on this position as Executive Director.
Thanks, Henry. It's a real privilege, and it's so much fun working with such a wonderful group. Really, sincerely, it's just great. I love it.
And I believe there's another slide up. I can't see the slides in front of me, but I trust it's going to get up there. Two of the board members tonight were not able to make it. Yavel Velasquez of Unity Church and Ora Stefanek, who holds the Jewish seat. And they send their love and greetings to us all at our meeting. And the others are here, and I'm just going to go through the list so that you can visually see it, and maybe when I give your name, you can just wave at everybody so that people can identify you. So the current board members in 2021 are John Burrows, who's our chair in Indigenous Spirituality. Myself, Henry Locke, I'm the recording secretary and I fill the Christian seat. Ora Stefanek, who's not with us tonight, but she is the treasurer, and Janine Theobald has been speaking on her behalf at this meeting, and she sits in the Jewish seat. Havel Velasquez of Unity Church, he sits in the non-affiliated seat. And Musa Magasa, he fills the Muslim seat. Janine Theobald is sitting in the Buddhist seat. Yagir Verk occupying the Sikh seat. And David Batterham, the Baha'i seat. And Shrikant Shenwai, the Hindu seat. So this is the board for 2021. And it's a privilege for all of us to be working in our various seats, working with a fantastic group of people, and doing amazing projects. Being guided by John Burrows as the president and supported mightily by Sheila Flood as the executive director. So thank you everyone for your support.
Thank you, Henry. And thank you everyone for all your service and support on our board. We're just about through here, just a few more minutes. This is regarding our activities for this coming year. They'll again be adapted depending on pandemic restrictions, but we're exploring new possibilities and other avenues to pursue our mission. And again, our mission is to learn from one another, celebrate our unity and diversity, and work together for the well-being of the community and the world. So as you heard, we want launching our anti-racism project in early 2022. And if all goes well, we'll be celebrating World Interfaith Harmony Week again, as we often do in February. We'll be continuing our Interfaith Learning Network meetings. And we've also planned a joint event with the Sorrento Center near Salmon Arm in October of 2022. And the theme of that event will be mindfulness and Indigenous law. And I'll be speaking with colleagues from the Shrupnik Nation there. And we're looking forward to that event. If you're not already on the VMS email list, we'd like to invite you to be notified of upcoming events by emailing us at the address you see there below, victoriamultifaith@gmail.com. And you'll also find that address on our website. VMS would also like to thank all those who contributed their time and expertise over the course of the year. That is our presenters and participants, supporters and collaborators, particularly our partner in the Anti-Racist Project, the Center for Civic Religious Literacy. We'd also like to thank all members of the advisory committee for that project as well. We're really enormously grateful for all of you. And as Henry said, we're just tremendously grateful for Sheila too, because she does so much to hold us all together in these ways. We'd like to say thank you for joining us this evening. We'll end with a short video just featuring select quotes, interfaith quotes on the oneness of humanity. And then following that brief reflection, we'll just have some question and answers. You can post them in the chat box or just speak with us. But I know we've been together for over an hour or two. Those who have to leave, we say thank you again for being a part of this evening. It's just been fantastic to be with you once more. And so I will turn to that next slide and we'll hear those, see those quotes, and then we'll have that question and answer for those who might be able to stay.